Stephen Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was really concerned to hear some of that rhetoric from the other side of the House, and I can go through all three speakers. Whether it's a mouse, a guinea pig, or as some call it, a puppy dog, no animals need to be tested under the testing for these psychoactive drugs. If the panel, if this select committee had actually listened to those submitters, the ones that we heard only because we needed to, because they were being let down totally by the chair of the committee, if you'd listened to that, you wouldn't even be differentiating between the size of animals. You'd be saying no animal testing. And earlier we heard from Dr. Paul Hutchison on around science and suggesting that the Green Party didn't understand science or was particularly selective, and that we had it insinuated that we had it all wrong regarding the science around this testing. But it's quite to the contrary. Again, if he had listened, and maybe even if he had read the report from the committee that the Green Party set up to hear those submitters, and then went through the submitters' submissions, because of course he had access to them, he would have had no grounds to be saying that. It is science-based, and the science says you do not need to animal test at all. So I will Well, I don't have total confidence in the committee that the Psychoactive Substances Expert Advisory Committee. We can have hope, but we don't have any absolute confidence or proof. And I'm sort of looking through here thinking, where does it give me that confidence that they will come out really certainly in that? And maybe it's lost in the supplementary order paper. But I did feel very assured by the Minister Todd McClay was very helpful in saying that when effectively a scientific alternative exists, a suitable rather alternative exists, there will not be animal testing, and you're very, very adamant about that, and that's heavily on record, and I appreciate that. What any committee needs to know, in fact I don't think there'll be any excuse for the Psychoactive Substances Expert Advisory Committee to ever allow animal testing. If they did, they would be in direct contradiction to the science that's available. So on that basis, I would suggest that the parties or members that are prevaricating around Mojo Mather's supplementary order paper reconsider. There is time. That hasn't come up. There is time to reconsider, and I'm really disappointed in the parties that may be sitting on the fence, or those that are totally opposed, and suggest that they quickly reconsider and do the honourable thing, because, as we say, this bill is potentially a world first in terms of what it's doing around psychoactive substances, but it could even be better if that supplementary order paper was given the nod. I found it, I suppose, a privilege to hear the submissions of the people that put these submissions together, very, very professionally put together, very, very good evidence, but they had been disadvantaged, they'd been left out of a democratic process. In fact, to think about the time that they had put in, and then to have the rug pulled out from them because, and I would suggest what it is the National Party is looking at the costs and thinking, have we got mates in there that are going to actually end up having to pay a little bit more, well, in fact, a reasonable bit more to do testing that's not on animals. Instead, we can do the cheap one and effectively torture some animals to get the effective protection. If a drug is to be allowed, and it's only going to be allowed if it passes certain tests. Is cost really the issue here? I would suggest it's not. I would suggest that, Mr. Chair.
Stephen Browning.
I would suggest that it shouldn't be about the cost, it should be about the ethics. And this bill can really get down into that. We are concerned about our young people. We don't want young people being admitted to hospitals with psychotic episodes and having lives destroyed. Of course we don't. So it's not an either or here, it's about both. We can have an ethical result in terms of our young people, and we can have an ethical result in terms of animal welfare. I'll speak again further on the bill, but I implore those parties, those members who are prevaricating or opposing at the moment that supplementary order paper to reconsider, because this could be a wonderful day. Thank you.
Clear. Oh, sorry, I'll take Honourable John Banks.
Of this bill.